I joined Youth Impact nearly 2 years ago after finishing my PhD here in Amsterdam. And yeah, like Constantine said, I've also really enjoyed the journey. We scale very quickly in Youth Impact, our programs, and with that comes yeah, a lot of challenges in terms of data collection. And so we are always looking for um, yeah, new cool tools to help us streamline our data collection.
Thank you, Konstantin and Emily, for the introduction. Um, what we're going to do now is, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, I'll just uh, talk about a little bit about Glyphic and what WhatsApp chatbots are. A few people out here are new to WhatsApp automation, so we'll just give them a brief introduction about that. And once that is done, I'll hand it over to Konstantin for taking us over the work which Youth Impact team has worked on Glific. Okay, all right, let's just get started. Shwara, can you share the screen for me? It's just not letting me. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ashwarya. Okay, so what we're going to do today is this is a case study on youth impact. So their use case is how they're using WhatsApp as a platform to collect images from users on the ground and how they're effectively able to store it using a Google Sheet. So we will explore the Google Sheets integration of Glyphic through their use case. So yeah, so that's the agenda for the discussion today. So first of all, let's just talk a little bit about what WhatsApp chatbots are. Aishwarya, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. If people on the chat can just type down if they already know what a WhatsApp chatbot is, just type yes if you know. Otherwise, type no. Okay. We see a lot of yes, a few no's. Okay, great. For those of you who don't know, I'll just share a bit about what it is. And for those who know, it is going to be a refresher for you to just go over it. Okay. So WhatsApp ecosystem comprises of WhatsApp and WhatsApp Business and WhatsApp chatbot, right? So WhatsApp is personal app-based app-based service that you can use to connect with your friends and family. And most of us are using WhatsApp for that purpose. And WhatsApp Business is being used for people who would want to run a small business, right? Or want to have more professional conversation as part of their business through one-on-one chat. So that's where WhatsApp Business and WhatsApp is being used. The reach is limited because you can only respond to a fewer people, right? Whereas WhatsApp Business API lets you chat with hundreds and thousands of people at once. It's automated. There's no person needed at the backend to send messages to a user. All the flows are automated. You set up a conversation in advance, and a user will directly go through the same conversation using a keyboard. That's how WhatsApp chatbot is different than WhatsApp Business. Next slide, please. Okay. What Glific is? Glific is a WhatsApp chatbot builder. So organizations, what they do is they use Glific to build their WhatsApp chatbot. The conversation flow that I was talking about, you can, if you already have a conversation in mind, you can use Glific as a platform to have that conversation automated. So we work directly with nonprofits and social impact organizations who then use Glyphic to scale their impact using WhatsApp.
No, I didn't join the one tour with her.
Okay. Shwara, next slide, please. Yeah. Glyphic is a two-way communication platform. What it means is basically you not only send responses one way, but you also get responses from a user, and you can run your programs more effectively in this case. So it's not, don't think about this as more like a broadcast place to broadcast messages, but also you receive valuable insights and input from your users, which you can then use to use for data monitoring. It is automation and personalization at scale. So you can use Glyphic to go to n number of users uh, at any given point in time. Okay. It can be integrated with external platforms, with data platforms. For example, today we will see how it is integrated with Google Sheets. And you also get to see real-time insights and analytics through the platform. Okay, these are just stats. So currently we're working with 100 plus organizations globally, and more than 1.3 million beneficiaries have been reached through our NGO partners. Okay, so this is going to be a platform demo. It's a short video that we have recorded. This is just for you to see what the platform is. And yeah, go ahead, Ashwarya, if you can just play it. Can't hear the audio.
The Glific platform.
Can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Is it audible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi everyone, let's explore the Glific platform. On the right side, you'll find all your chats. Click on any of the chats to view the entire conversation history. At the top right, you will find collections where you can group users and send messages to specific groups. On the left side, you'll see flow section where you can create and manage your chat flows. Here is an example of Glyphic's chatbot, which in this one you'll see how you can use drag and drop nodes to build a simple conversation. You can include interactive features like buttons and lists. To test your flows, there's something called as preview tab, which helps you to build your flows, but not only to build your flows but also test your flows. You can see translate here on the top. It allows Glyphic to auto translate content into default languages of the flow editor and have the translations populated in other languages enabled in the Glyphic instance. These are the languages which are already here. You can add more languages in the settings section. On the side, you will also see Google Sheets integration. This is one of the most commonly used feature as NGOs work heavily on Google Sheets. You will find support tickets. So support tickets streamline the process of submitting queries and assigning staff members for each query. In the quick tools section, you can create interactive messages with button and list options and set up template messages for sending pre-approved structured message outside the 24-hour window. There is also an option for bulk applying these HSM messages. Now if we'll move to the settings tab, you can configure your organization's name, enable multiple languages, and view third-party integration tools or third-party tools here. Glific is designed to be user-friendly, especially for non-profits. It has a friendly UI and you don't require any technical skills to run the platform.
All right. That was on the platform, just to give you an overview of how the platform looks like and on what WhatsApp chatbot is. Okay. What I'll do now is I'll just hand it over to Konstantin to share about youth impacts work on Glific. Over to you.
Right. Thanks so much, Sneha. That's great. Thanks so much for having us. Looking forward to present and discuss our use case with you. Let me see whether I can share my screen. Can
We
you?
can see. Yeah, we can see.
It's the wrong one though. Let me stop this and find another one. Sorry about this. Okay, I think this is the right screen. No, it's again the wrong one. That's very odd. Sorry about this. Okay, let me try it like this. Okay, I think now it displays. Does it display the right screen, Emily? It's a bit odd. I can't properly see it on my side, but I think it should display the right screen.
It displays the Glific presentation.
All
Yeah.
right, that's great.
If you
Thanks.
could put it on slideshow, I think it should work.
Yep. All right, awesome. So thanks so much for having us. Looking forward to present on our use case on how we use Glific for one very specific task, and that is image sharing on WhatsApp. This is for our Teaching at the Right Level program. We actually also use Glific in another program that's called Connected at very large scale in India. That's how Emily and I actually learned about Glific as a solution to the problem we are trying to solve for teaching at the right level. Right, let me share a little bit about our organization and then also about teaching at the right level, because I think it's important to understand our use case and why we made the decision to go this route of using Glific as a chatbot to help us with image sharing. Right, so we are an organization that has implements education and health programs that have benefited to date about 250,000 of children. And we have a memorandum of understanding in Botswana to scale our education program to all primary schools. And we will reach all primary schools by the end of next year. We also implement in other countries. We have innovation hubs in Namibia, South Africa, and recently also the Philippines. And as I mentioned, partnership in a series of countries, most importantly, or the biggest one in India, with JPAL and the government of Karnataka. So the message there is one key part of our mission is we want to bring proven programs to children in many countries and scale those programs up, actually. So that's one of the key drivers of our mission. We want to scale up our programs, so our solutions need to be scalable. That's one part of the challenge here, or the use case. And the other one is we rely heavily on data to learn as an organization. So in the past 3 years, we have run more than 35 experimental trials, mostly A/B testing, but also randomized control trials. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is that requires fast data flows and reliable data flows. So we want to collect data at scale, that's one thing. And the other thing is we want to collect the data rapidly and reliably. So that basically sets the stage for our use case. Let me share a little bit more about teaching at the right level, just so that you have an understanding about the program and what type of data we are collecting. So we see in all the countries that we implement that children don't master foundational skills. That means they fall behind grade level, and this achievement gap widens every year. And teaching at the right level provides a proven solution by teaching children at the level they currently are, so meeting the children at their needs. And it's not a program that we invented. It has been, established or built up in India, and there is a lot of evidence that it works very well at closing the achievement gap. And we adopted the program, as I said, for Botswana, but also Namibia, South Africa, and the Philippines. And there is two critical components that are important to understand our need for data here. One is the idea is that's the core idea of teaching at the right level, that you teach children, that you target their current learning levels. And to do that, you need to know at what level the children actually are. So the first step of implementing teaching at the right level is you group children by ability, not age. And to do that, you level all the children. So teachers implementing TARL would, as a first step, level children one-on-one to assess their level and then group them by ability. And the second key ingredient is once you group children by ability, you tailor lessons to the children's level in each lesson. And to do that, you always ask a question of the day at the end of the day to inform your decision on whether to recap the same content that you already taught the previous lesson, or to proceed and teach the next concept in the curriculum. And also for that, we basically collect data. So we have a paper tool where teachers register whether children got the question of the day right or not. And that is their basically information to decide whether to continue with the next subject or to repeat. So I mentioned already, these are the paper tools that we use, and they are really a key ingredient for implementing teaching at the right level. The most important function of these paper tools is that they guide facilitators and teachers to always teach at the right level, to inform the decision making, how they tailor their lessons. And that is a very deliberate design choice. These paper tools are self-contained for daily use in the field. So the paper tools include all the information that teachers need to make decisions in the classroom. So if they properly use the paper tools, they have a very good basis for decision making on how to tailor lessons to children. And that's why we rely heavily on these paper tools. They provide a low-tech solution to inform the decision making by teachers. So working with paper tools is a very deliberate choice. But the paper tools are not only a source of decision making, they are also a source for data. And we rely heavily on data for two reasons. One is to strengthen accountability, and one is for institutional learning. And we believe strongly that data has an important role to play there, and that's why we invest in collecting rapid data at the student level. So just to give you an idea, on the left-hand side, you have a leveling sheet. That's a paper tool that we use at the start of implementation. Teachers level every child one by one to assess at what level they are, and then group them by ability, and then tailor lessons specifically to each group needs. And we then take that data, digitize it, and then we have student level data for all the programs that we implement, or for teaching at the right level in all the countries that we implement. And on the right-hand side, you see, for instance, the reach that we have with teaching at the right level measured through these paper tools. So this is individual level data. Every basically data point that you see illustrated on the right-hand side represents an actual data point that we collected at the student level during implementation. And currently, we reach around 100,000 students per year with teaching at the right level. And that number has doubled or even tripled over the past year. So each year, we double or triple our reach that we have in teaching at the right level. And that is important in understanding also the challenge that we are facing and the problem that we are trying to solve. All right, let me share a little bit about how we transform paper tools to analysis or insight. So this is a very simple representation of our data flows. On the left-hand side, the process starts with teachers leveling every child using the paper tool that I mentioned. As I said, that's an integral part of the program. Each child needs to be leveled so that the teacher can group them by ability and then tailor teaching to each child's ability. So we then have this information on paper, but it's not digitized yet. Teachers then submit the images or share the images over WhatsApp. And then a team member from Youth Impact enters the data manually into Survey CTO, and that data gets then fed into our live dashboards on Google Sheets that we can use to track progress of our programs. And the data is then also used by the research and innovation team that I'm part of to generate insight and inform the learning agenda and decision-making of the organization. All right, so because we scale our programs very fast with doubling or even tripling reach every year over the past years, and that's also our scenario or prediction for moving forward, scalability matters a lot. And if I chop up our data flows or assess how scalable they are, there is this middle section where there is the manual data entry that is not very scalable. And that's currently our focus area. That's the area that we want to improve. We want to improve scalability. And that part of the process where teachers share their paper tools, and then our team enters the data into Survey CTO, digitizes it, and then it becomes available to the research team. We have high scalability when it comes to using the paper tools by teachers. The paper tools are very convenient from that perspective. Everyone can use paper tools, so that's highly scalable. And we also have a good solution for everything that comes once, everything following downstreams once the data is entered into Survey CTO. That's also something that we can scale easily because it's highly standardized, but the challenge is in the middle part where teachers share data with our team and then the data needs to be entered. And that's where Glific comes in. Just very short note on, collecting student level data, because often we get the comment that, is it worthwhile to enter the data at the individual level? Why don't you aggregate it? And the reason is, if we think about the, let's say, social costs of producing the data, most of the time spent to produce the data, that's spent by teachers in the classroom using the paper tools. They do that for decision-making and tailoring the lessons to the ability of the children. So that's an integral part of the program, but that's also 94% of the time spent on generating the data. And only 6% of the time to generate the data or digitize it is spent during data entry. Because we believe in the value of data, so far we think it pays off to spend that extra investment to, digitize the data that is produced in hard work by teachers in the classroom and make it digitally available to the organization. But it's also clear that, as we continue to scale, we have to find a solution for this, because we can afford this for 100,000 kids a year, or also 200,000 or 300,000. But if we keep doubling or tripling our reach, at some point, this will become very expensive. All right, so how does Glific help us with this challenge of scaling? And so one thing, and that was the primary reason why we were looking for a solution, and Glific provides that solution, is we wanted to centralize the image sharing and publish information from that image sharing process directly to dashboard. And the reason is it helps us to manage that image flow. So up to now, the images were shared decentralized with regional officers. In every region where we implement, we have officers from programs who, basically manage the program in the region. And they have been also managing this image flow, which has come in through WhatsApp, groups that they were monitoring manually. And we want now to centralize that image sharing in one place for various reasons. It's basically basically a necessary condition that we can centralize, that we can continue building solutions to make this part of the process more efficient. So Glific really helps us here to centralize, and that will be a key ingredient for future steps. Another thing is, and that's something that we figured out over the past 3 months. It provides a nice solution to generate interactive help desks for FAQs, and that will also help us to streamline and be more efficient. And what I already pointed out is, and this is something that we will work on in the next, I guess, 12 to 24 months, is we will use the centrally collected images and then start to feed them into Google Cloud services to machine read the paper tools and eventually replace the manual data entry with machine read data entry. And as I said before, centralizing the image sharing through WhatsApp is basically a requirement that we can at some point switch to machine reading, which we will do through Google Cloud services. Right, this is how our workflow looks. It's very simple. Teachers register on WhatsApp. Actually, we feed in information from our service CTO system where we have registered all teachers implementing teaching at the right level. It's currently 2,000 teachers in Botswana. All of them have been registered, and we can use that information from our service CTO registry to feed it into Glific. And so most teachers that interact with Glific are already registered as they interact the first time. If not, they can update their registration, and then they are asked to submit images, and those images are then published into Google Cloud, and we can also track all submissions via Google Sheets. And Emily is now going to share how the WhatsApp chatbot actually looks like and how our Google Sheets integration looks like that allows us to easily manage all submissions that come in through our chatbot. All right, over to you, Emily.
All right, let me share my screen. Or can you, or please see WhatsApp?
Yeah, we can see your screen, Emily.
Oh, all right, great. Yeah, so here you can see WhatsApp. So I opened the chat with our chat bot, and our bot is activated using the keyword Taro. So let's give it a second. All right, there we go. So when the teachers activate the chatbot, it first explains what the chatbot is for, and we thank the teacher. And then Konstantin already mentioned it briefly, but most teachers will already, their we know their phone numbers, and so their phone numbers are already linked to a school in a specific region, but not for all. So the bot first asks, okay, so right now your phone number is registered to this school in this region. Do you want to submit leveling results for this school? A yes or no? Just for demonstration purposes, let me say no. Let's change the school. All right. So then we actually use a preload system because there are more than 700 schools in Botswana, and so we came up with a system of filtering the schools so that when the teacher is is trying to find the school, we limit the list for them to scroll through. So let's say we want a school in Maun sub-region, and so we ask the teacher to provide the first letter of the school name, and this information is then actually Glific the system is actually pulling this school list from a Google Sheet where we organized the schools by a region, sub-region, and the first letter of the school name. And by filtering the schools like that, we limited the list of schools to 10, because the maximum number of options you can show here in the list to choose from is 10. So now we see there's only one school actually that starts with the letter J and the G. So let's select Sabara. So now we registered the phone number to Sabara, and we want to submit the leveling results for this school. It asks us if we are submitting baseline or endline data. So let's say baseline. I'm going to skip this grouping template, but this is also another paper tool that the teachers might use. So then it asks us to send a picture of the first page of the leveling sheet. This can be either a PDF file or an image file in the system. So the system checks whether the teacher is sending a PDF or an image. Otherwise, it will ask the teacher to resubmit. So now it says you have submitted one leveling page. Do you have any more to share? So in this case, I'm going to say no, but no, there's when there's many students in a school, then teachers can submit multiple leveling pages. And so then finally we get a summary page that thanks the teacher for submitting their data. They submitted one sheet for Xavara in Northwest, and it tells them that if they want to submit more leveling sheets later on, then they can come back to the bot and write the keyword. So once the data is submitted, it gets published into this Google Sheet here. So this is how the data comes in from the bot. We get the submission date, contact information, the school information that we just selected, and then links to the images that were submitted. And here in the bottom, you can see the submission that we just entered in the bot. So we organized the submissions in a way that is useful for our teams. So as Constantine explained before, we get the images of the paper tools, but then our team will enter the data into Survey CTO. And so we built this dashboard that pulls the information from the data tab that we just looked at, and it lists the main information that we need. There's a link to the image that I just uploaded. So this is just an empty leveling sheet that I submitted, but it's very easy for everyone who has access to this dashboard to find the image. Then our team comes in to check whether this was data for numeracy or the literacy program, how many students were leveled, and whether the image quality is sufficient. So sometimes teachers send pictures that are maybe it doesn't have the full page on the picture, or it's blurry. So right now we are still manually checking this, whether it's sufficient or not. If it's insufficient, we go into the Glific environment that Snea shared before to ask the teacher to resubmit. But yeah, the eventual goal would be to try and let AI read the images and determine whether the quality is sufficient or not, and also to count the number of students. And then there is a mentor assigned to this specific leveling sheet to submit the data into Survey CTO. And so that is how we set up the system. So we're still piloting, but here We keep track of the submissions on WhatsApp and whether the data is submitted in Survey CTO. And here you can see our submission that we did just now. Yeah, so that is the system that we are currently piloting. I think we're doing questions at the end, so let me give the floor back to Konstantin.
Konstantin, you're on mute.
Thanks for flagging. All right, so thanks for sharing the demo, Emily. So let me wrap up with some preliminary lessons learned. So the first one, and it comes from our pilot or 2 pilots rounds now, is the teachers love the chatbot. So we asked them to rate the convenience and whether they like to interact with it and so on and so forth. And the feedback was really good. They scored the convenience with 9.6 out of 10, and that is actually unusual when we ask them about convenience when it comes to data sharing and data entry. Often people don't like engaging with data entry or anything around data, and they actually like the chatbot a lot. And that was very important for us to carry this forward and invest in the development of this and eventually scale it up. So teachers really like it, and that's our basically main audience or our customers. And it's good to know that they really like to interact with it and appreciate it. Another takeaway is that careful piloting helps us to successfully roll out and do it in a structured way. So we learned late last year about Glific and then set up an account and did a first very small pilot in November, December. And that showed us how we can use Glific, how we can integrate it in our registration system and identify basic glitches that our first version still had, that we whipped up in one week or so. And then early this year, we started a second piloting round with a bit larger number of schools. We obviously fixed all the issues that we identified. And we are currently assessing the reliability of how the system works after fixing those glitches. And it's so much better than in the round in November, so that we are confident that we can actually scale this up starting in May. And the second pilot also taught us a lot about user behavior. So by using the bot, we learned much more about typical questions that teachers would have when sharing their images. And that's why we have started building what we call here an interactive help desk, where we try to address some of the most common questions that teachers have. One of those questions is around how they can best group students, giving a certain distribution of levels and number of teachers implementing TARL. And one thing that the bot, for instance, allows us is if teachers share the number of students in each level and how many teachers implement, we can provide a recommendation, an immediate recommendation on how they should group. And that's actually one of the most frequently asked questions they have. And it's something that we can easily bake into the chatbot instead of having regional officers, our team, to provide recommendations over the phone. So we will finish implementing that interactive help desk, and then we believe we are ready to start the staged rollout starting in May. That's when the next school term starts, and then we plan to first roll it out in Botswana, and then gradually also in Namibia and South Africa and the Philippines. All right, let me stop here. That's the final slide, and hand back to you, Sneha.
All right. Thank you so much, Konstantin and Emily, for just sharing your use case in such depth. I was really happy to see the Google Sheets dashboard. It's quite comprehensive, and it gives clear picture of how you're capturing data and what you're doing with the data. We have a bunch of questions here also on the chat and also from the registration form. So I will just ask a few questions. One of the questions is from Sophia. She's asking, submitting the data from the spreadsheet to Survey CTO is it automated? The part that is manual is entering in Survey CTO the content of the image.
Yes, for now, we still manually enter the content from the image, but the Google Sheet dashboard that we showed helps a lot managing that process and centralizing the process actually. So, we will not be able to just switch to machine reading immediately. I think that will be something like a 12-month or 24-month time frame. And in the meantime, since we continue to grow fast, we want to, with the means available, want to structure the process of data entry as efficiently as possible. And this centralization helps a lot with that. So one thing that we are considering is hiring enumerators that centrally enter all the data and are, specifically trained for data entry. Currently, that's done in a decentralized way. And that could be, one way of bridging this time from now until the data is actually machine read. And to machine read the data, we need some place, where all the data is coming in, and that is the chatbot. So all the data is saved on Google Cloud systems. And we have started working now on a solution that allows us to feed the images into Google Vision or Google Vertex, and then extract the content in the images and save them to CSV files, and then take that content instead of relying on manual data entry. So what we envision is in the next 24 months, we continue entering the data manually from the images and compare that data to the data that we extract automatically from the images via Google Vision. And once we reach sufficient accuracy and have built a robust flow that feeds the images into Google Vision and extracts the information. And yeah, as I said, once that's accurate enough compared to the manually entered data, then we would eventually phase out the manual data entry and rely on the machine read data. And to do that, we need, as I said, something that centralizes the image sharing, and that's what the chatbot is very useful for.
Thank you, Konstantin.
That answers the question. Otherwise, please follow up.
There's another question on do all the teachers have smartphones that can share images? What do you do in cases where teachers don't have a smartphone? Or is that a case?
That can be a case. I should say, though, that typically in a school there is multiple teachers implementing, and usually we have one point of contact, and almost all schools have somebody available that has one smartphone to submit images. Thing is, if there is rare cases where nobody at the school has a smartphone to share an image, that would be an issue no matter what system we have. Then, there is some, let's say, non-digital way of sharing the images. They would send it by post or so. But the very, very vast majority of our schools, there is at least somebody who has a smartphone who would then, share the images for all the teachers in the school. So, just to understand the paper tools, they would, if let's say there are 3 or 4 teachers implementing TARL in a school, they would level all the children together. Then they have one set of paper tools filled in. They decide together on how to group the children, and then they would submit the images as a school, not individually teacher by teacher. And so in that group of 3 to 4 teachers, there is almost always somebody who has a smartphone to submit the images. It's not really a constraint that worries us too much.
Okay, that's great to know. So basically, teachers can use one phone in that case to share.
Yes.
It's basically sharing the device and then entering the data, sharing the image. Okay. Any questions from the audience? If anyone wants to ask any questions here, you can just unmute and ask. Okay, anyone? Any hands up? Okay, we'll see if any more questions come up from the audience. In the meantime, I'll just ask a few questions that I've also parked for you both on my notes. So one of the question is, so earlier you were using WhatsApp groups, right, for image sharing. How is that transition from WhatsApp groups to one-on-one conversation for a user? And what are certain things that you saw in, for example, user behavior? I saw that you mentioned about the ease and ease of use for users, but is there any other thing that you saw from moving from WhatsApp groups to one-on-one automated WhatsApp messages?
The thing is, we were not that heavily involved in the exchange previously. So that is governed or has been governed by, or yeah, is still governed by the programs team. Every region has program officers, and they would manage the relation to the schools and manage these WhatsApp groups. So, one thing that we learned is, for instance, these questions that teachers would typically have when sharing data or sharing images, and one of them is around the grouping. And so far that required, one-to-one attention from regional officers to answer those questions. And with the chatbot, we can, as I said, program an algorithm that provides the grouping recommendation for any distribution of children and teachers. So if a teacher has a question on grouping, he can access the chatbot, ask the question to the chatbot, and will get an immediate grouping recommendation, which is great. Another thing is that has been tricky so far is we want to share the data back to teachers. But it's not that clear what's the best way of doing that. In the chatbot, it's very simple. We just link in the chatbot on the final page when we have the thank you note. We link there, we include a link and tell them if you want to review the data and compare your school to other schools, follow this link, and then the link takes them directly to our dashboard that includes school level information. And so that, it's just two examples that show it makes it so much easier for us to interact with teachers and share information with them in a structured way, rather than having to rely on program officers following up one-on-one with teachers. And as I said, teachers like it a lot. They feel it's techy, but also accessible. They feel it's like a tremendous level of technology involved, and that they enjoy that. So the feedback on the chatbot has been very good. And that has been very important for us, because if teachers wouldn't like it, that would be a deal breaker. And because we rely on them sharing the data, so we need to find a way that they are comfortable with. And they are definitely comfortable with interacting the chatbot.
Thanks, Konstantin, for that. There's a question by George. Can the system work offline? Over 70% of our school communities have no access to internet. And how do you navigate the challenges when there's no internet connectivity? And is that a case here in this?
So far, we didn't have that. It's not an issue that we face at scale, I'd say. There can be, Botswana is a big country with some remote schools, but by and large, teachers find a way to connect and submit the images. It's also an advantage. That's why we rely so heavily on WhatsApp. It's the one app that teachers are comfortable using. We have been trying different things, Google Sheet, Google Forms, Service ETO. It has been clear, that has been the feedback from both Botswana and Namibia. If you want teachers to reliably interact, you have to rely on WhatsApp. There is no other way. And one of the reasons is that many teachers they are signed up, or let me put it differently. In Botswana, I don't know whether that's the same in other countries, but in Botswana, prices are structured. There is different data bundles, and there is specifically a data bundle for social media, and that's the cheapest one. And that covers WhatsApp. And so many teachers just have that data bundle that allows them to use social media, including WhatsApp, but not other internet services. And that is, I think, one of the reasons why they are so comfortable using WhatsApp. That's something that their data bundles covers. And uploading images is not very data heavy. WhatsApp scales the images down, and then it's not too data heavy. If you are in an environment where 70% of the school have no internet, I think that is a very different challenge. We didn't face, it's not something that we faced so far. I guess then you have to rely on some form of data submission. I don't know, like, I guess sharing paper tools via postal service or so. But yeah, I don't have a good response to that because it's not something that we face so far in the countries that we implement in.
Yeah, just to add on that, basically, Glyphic is a WhatsApp chatbot builder, so you would definitely need internet access to use WhatsApp. Uh, but it's just that the penetration of WhatsApp is really high, and most of the users you would find on WhatsApp. But in certain cases where you're not able to reach out to your communities through in cases where there's no internet, actually WhatsApp will not work in that case. So that's a limitation. Okay, just a last question, Konstantin and Emily. For any organization that is looking to get that is looking to use a WhatsApp chatbot, what are certain things that you think, maybe a few tips that you think they should, think about before they look at automating WhatsApp conversations?
I think main thing is you want to understand your use case, and then you want to find a solution that covers that use case. And we had a good sense. We talked to you among other things. Now we checked the documentation, talked to you, and that was also why we did the first very simple pilot, just basically to establish a basic proof of concept, whether the chatbot does the things that we want to do. I wouldn't say that we did like an extensive review covering all the providers. And the reason was that our colleagues implementing in India, they also rely on Glific, and they actually recommended it to us. And within not using different chatbots within the same organization seems reasonable. And during the pilot, we basically established this basic proof of concept that all the functions that we need are available. And yeah, I think that's important, understanding your use case and making sure the product checks all the boxes. And that's the case for us with Glific. But yeah, those were the main considerations for us.
Sure. Thanks, Konstantin. There's one last question. How big was your first pilot? If you can just share anything on that.
Very small, 20 schools. And it was a bit tricky. So we learned first in September or October about Glific, and then we had to register on WhatsApp. So not WhatsApp, but Facebook Meta, and register our organization and verify it. That took a while. So by the time that we actually opened our account, we had like one week available to program everything, and then rolled it out to 20 schools. But it was very valuable doing that, because that meant that at the end of the year, we knew what we are going to invest in the next year, because the first pilot was successful. Those teachers that used it liked it a lot. And yes, the current pilot involves 70 schools. It's all schools in one region. And the results from the first pilot replicate in the sense that teachers still like it, that didn't change. And the glitches that we identified, we could iron out in the meantime, so that doing that very first quick pilot at the end of last year was very valuable.
Thank you. Thank you, Konstantin and Emily. That's really good to know. And thank you for sharing answers to so many questions that we've asked you. during this conversation today. Just as a last, because we're on time now, Aishwarya, if you can just help us pull up the feedback form, we'll just take some time. If you can just spend some time to fill up the feedback form on how this webinar was, that would be really helpful for us to understand and curate more webinars for you. And if you have any questions, I'm dropping my email address here. We can have a conversation about WhatsApp chatbots. And yeah, here it is. Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Emily and Konstantin, for being here and being part of this webinar and showcasing your use case. If there are more questions from the audience, I will route it to you. And if you can respond back over the email, that would be great.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for having us, Neha. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your questions. Bye.
Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Constantine.
Okay, people who are here, if you can just fill up the feedback form before you leave, that would be really helpful.